Good evening. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc., and this show has been put together by the producer and the director, and she's also the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., none other than my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley. And the technical wherewithal, the director that will be doing this and putting everything in play is Brother Omari. So without further ado, let me say to God be the glory. Let's get into our story. We're going to be talking about, as you know, in the media, the most important thing that's happening now, besides the war in the Ukraine, is the fact that an African-American woman is about to be confirmed to become the first African-American woman to be on the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about issues about turning the tide on the violence. And everybody's opinion need to be valued as far as I'm concerned, because it helps put a common sense approach plan together. We're going to talk about the various forms of government and the judicial and law enforcement coming together with ideas that they feel needs to be addressed, and that is funding witness protection programs. The governor's talking about it. The mayor's talking about it. The chief judge saying it ought to happen. People across this country is talking about it. Yet, that is one piece of fabric that's a part of a blanket that we're calling solution to turn the tide on senseless shootings and killings. And I believe that vengeance belongs to God, and if witness protection is a part of that vengeance, then that's what it has to be. Or what we're witnessing is an alternative that no one's like, and that's the furtherance of senseless, retaliatory violence. And I'm speaking like a lot of other people who are like-minded like me, that it takes all of us to do what we can to help turn the tide on violence. Even if we have an elected official, if it's a congressman, like Bobby Rush did, go behind the walls and talk to Larry Hoover and Jeff Ford or whomever, or talk to Gino or whomever. Everybody can play a part, using whatever influence they may have, or just being on the right side of history and saying, stop senseless violence. To the matter at hand, let's deal with, it says, if confirmed, Jackson would be the only active Supreme Court justice to have attended an Ivy League law school, clerked for a Supreme Court justice, served as a public defender, served on the Sentencing Commission, served as a U.S. District Court judge, and served as a U.S. Court of Appeals judge. In my opinion, she seems to be overly qualified. But the most important thing is, by the grace of God, again, in my opinion and belief, He has prepared her to be the one that would take the place of a Supreme Court justice that she once clerked for. And what was so wonderful, when Claiborne, Congressman Claiborne, we all remember this, made mention to former Senator Biden, who is now President Biden, when he was the senator and he was running to be elected during the Democratic primary, and there was this big debate, and Claiborne told him that, man, when you go back out there, you need to let the world know that if you become president, you would nominate an African American woman or a black woman to the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, fast forward, here we are. And he did that as president. And the wonderful thing about it, we know what the Republican Party did when it was time for Barack Obama to nominate someone to the Supreme Court. The Republicans held it up and made sure that he couldn't even do that. Held it up so Trump could do it. The Republicans did a whole lot of things to make it where they was guaranteeing to put conservative-minded jurors on the Supreme Court. Violated all kind of. But one thing that Mitch McConnell did, and I believe he wished he would have never did it, he made it where only the majority within the Senate could make the decision on the confirmation of Supreme Court justice. And this time, the Senate is split 50-50, 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats. So the Democrats have the power to confirm Justice Jackson, because all they need is one vote, the 51st vote, is the vote of the president of the Senate, who happens to be the vice president of these United States.
I am confirmed, I commit to you that I
and that's
will
Vice
work
President Harris.
productively to support.
I want you to hear what this sister had to say. Justice Ketanji Brown. There you go. Could you hit that for me? Yes. Yes. Right there. There you go.
Experiences, including my work professional committee. If I am confirmed, I commit to you that I will work productively to support and defend the Constitution and this grand experiment of American democracy that has endured over these past 246 years. I have been a judge for nearly a decade now, and I take that responsibility and my duty to be independent very seriously. I decide cases from a neutral posture. I evaluate the facts, and I interpret and apply the law to the facts of the case before me without fear or favor, consistent with my judicial oath. I know that my role as a judge is a limited one, that the Constitution empowers me only to decide cases and controversies that are properly presented. And I know that my judicial role is further constrained by careful adherence to precedent. Now, in preparing for these hearings, you may have read some of my more than 570 written decisions, and you may have also noticed that my opinions tend to be on the long side. That is because I also believe in transparency, that people should know precisely what I think and the basis for my decision. And all of my professional experiences, including my work as a public defender and as a trial judge, have instilled in me the importance of having each litigant know that the judge in their case has heard them, whether or not their arguments prevail in court. During this hearing, I hope that you will see how much I love our country and the Constitution and the rights that make us free. I stand on the shoulders of so many who have come before me, including Judge Constance Baker Motley, who was the first African-American woman to be appointed to the federal bench and with whom I share a birthday. And like Judge Motley, I have dedicated my career to ensuring that the words engraved on the front of the Supreme Court building, "Equal justice under law," are a reality and not just an ideal. Thank you for this historic chance to join the highest court, to work with brilliant colleagues, to inspire future generations, and to ensure liberty and justice for all.
You know,
My fellow gods and goddesses,
hearing
the
her
dark skies have spoken.
speak to the
It is
point,
time for Susan and I to retire
and
from
as
Mount
my
Olive.
viewing audience know, for the basketball players and people that love basketball, this is March Madness that's happening now in the basketball arena. But also, this is election time that's happening in the county of Cook in the state of Illinois. And I'm supporting, me personally, not United Peace Inc., but Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm supporting 5 different individuals for different seats on the judiciary in the county of Cook. 3 for the circuit court and 2 for the sub-circuit. I have Tim Wright for the 5th Sub-Circuit, Sanjay Taylor for the 9th Sub-Circuit, Deidre Bowman for the 4th Circuit, Judge Rena Marie Van Tye for the 4th Circuit, and Judge Thomas Donnelly for the 4th Circuit Court. And all of them, in my opinion, is just like this woman, not by race, but because they have ethical and moral fortitude, as well as the experience and qualifications to be elected judge. It's very important. That's very key. So my viewing audience, we need to put the judges, let's go to the bottom of the ballot. Pick the judges. Don't get tricked, because you may have someone on there saying that they're running, and you may think that is Wendy Williams that's running, that's the reality star. That's not, okay? Because sometimes people use their names, everything else, to try to grab the voters. Let's deal with their qualification. You're able to Google any candidate that's running for judge. Check out to see if they got moral and ethical fortitude. You can check their records from when they were attorneys to when they became judges, whether they were former prosecutors or public defenders, till when they became judges and the decisions that they made as judges. So I gave you the 5 that I feel would do the judiciary a great service in administering justice for the residents of Cook County. And Google their names. On the issue I was speaking about earlier, my brother got killed in August. I'll be there about to come up with his trial. But But people looked to me to retaliate. And during the funeral services, so many people from around the country that was coming and saying they would aid and assist me if I chose to do that, and that was not my intention. That was not me, because I felt that vengeance belongs to God, and I felt that vengeance had been served because the person that killed my brother got apprehended on the scene of the crime because he had malicious thoughts and malicious intent. Right there. Thank you. The headline read, former enforcer of the Gangster Disciples says he's been using his influence on the streets to ask people to turn in suspects in the killings of children, women, and the elderly, abiding by what he calls the code, which means that senseless violence, shootings, and killings should not be tolerated. The abuse of women and children should not be tolerated. The abuse and the robbery of seniors should not be tolerated. Okay. On August 5th, 2020, the violence struck home for me. My half-brother, James Kelly, but I saw him as a full brother because we both come out the womb of the same woman, was shot to death at a used car dealership on the south side by a guy that he perceived to be his friend, which was Willie Dunmore. But that's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying this because Mr. Dunmore was the one that called 911. I guess he was trying to cover up the crime that he allegedly committed, but when he got arrested, he still had the gunshot residue on himself. Could you pull that up a little bit? Right there. He still had the residue on him. And there's witnesses that the prosecution is going to bring forth. These witnesses are known by the defendant. He get that from his lawyer and guys of discovery. But I'm going to bring up a story because everyone is saying now that an alternative or policy solution to help end senseless violence, shootings, and killings within our community is that people want to come forth. And so there's various programs that they're putting in place to turn the tide on senseless violence. And that's known as the witness protection piece. Yes, could that right there. Now come down, son. I want to read the headline. Come down a little bit. No, you're going up. Come down a little bit. I want to read the headline. Right there. Paul Vallis, he did, I guess, an op-ed with the Tribune on March 21st, 2022. A city witness protection program would help Chicago police gain community trust. Could you go up a little bit? Go up. Oh, down. Oh, my bad. I got you. As a matter of fact, hit that little arrow right there and explain the story. Thank you. I appreciate you.
When you spilled that cup of water this morning, feeling around for your glasses, you knew it was time for LASIK. Schedule your 30-minute free virtual consultation and get your questions answered from the comfort of your home, including cost. Right now, LASIK Plus is offering $1,000 off our Wavelight laser when treated in March. That's $500 off per eye with guaranteed financing. So visit lpoffer.com. Must mention this promotion to be treated in March of 2022 to qualify. $1,000 off for both eyes on standard Wavelight price. $500 off for one eye. Cannot be combined with any other offers. See details at lpoffer.com.
Paul Vallis. A city witness protection program would help Chicago police gain community trust. Chicago Tribune. Governor J.B. Pritzker is finally taking steps to fulfill the promise made by the 2021 SAFETY Act, the so-called Criminal Justice Reform Package, by proposing $20 million to fund the state of Illinois Witness Protection Program that has not been funded in almost a decade. Long overdue, there is added urgency given the increased threats to the safety of witnesses and victims as a result of SAFETY Act restraints on proactive policing and the legislative elimination of cash bail next year. Chicago can't depend on the state to protect its witnesses and victims. Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Police Superintendent David Brown must set up a city-operated witness protection program while pressing the state to pass a law that would impose severe penalties and automatically revoke bail for felons who intimidate witnesses or victims in the community. Central to the high number of shootings in Chicago is the reluctance of people to report to police the identities of shooters and their associates. This is why since 2017, the police have cleared just over 30% of homicide cases and 4% of the overall shooting cases, according to an analysis of CPS data by crime reporting website CWB Chicago. Shocking as those numbers are, it's even worse for mass shootings. According to a Sun-Times analysis of Chicago Police Department crime data and court records, police made only one arrest through August 2021 for mass shootings last year. That same analysis showed that over the last 6 years, there have been over 1,000 people shot and at least 126 killed in mass shootings and only 2 convictions. Much is made about community mistrust of police being a root cause for the lack of community assistance in these matters. That obscures the reality. People justifiably are terrified of shooters who are roaming their neighborhoods, many out on bail for other violent crime charges. The Consent Decree Monitors Community Survey, which was completed before the pandemic, found that most adults do not believe CPD does a good enough job supporting victims and protecting witnesses. Little wonder that CPD has difficulty closing cases. Police can't protect people who are too afraid to talk to them. The Cook County State's Attorney's Witness Protection Program is very narrow and helps only those who have been directly threatened and does nothing for those who fear the specter of reprisal. It is not enough, and in some cases, it is too little, too late. A witness protection program directed by CPD's Bureau of Detectives would be accessible for truly vulnerable witnesses who proactively work with authorities to identify and prosecute those charged with murder or other violent crimes. The program could offer relocation assistance to participants through resources such as the Section 8 housing program and Link Card. Other potential support for critical witnesses could include an extension of unemployment insurance benefits and health care coverage. Funding for a city-operated witness protection program could come from asset forfeitures. Additional funding could come from enactment and enforcement of a nuisance ordinance directing police to make arrests and financially hold those accountable who disrupt peaceful protest by looting, rioting, or damaging property, engage in flash mobs, or incite civil unrest. This would include the power to immediately seize money upon physical arrest only within the district station to pay off outstanding fines or fees. It would also involve seizing vehicles and cell phones that would be released upon the payment of heavy fines. Such an ordinance should include a provision for a $2,000 fine per handgun for possession of an unregistered handgun, stolen handgun, defaced handgun, possession of a handgun with no firearm owner's identification card or concealed carry license. This also applies to weapon charges too frequently rejected by the state's attorney's office when CPD seizes illegal firearms. A fine by issuance of an administrative notice of violation/citation makes it a separate matter and ensures financial consequences, even if State's Attorney Kim Foxx's office elects not to charge. CPD could use these funds to quickly expand its detective division's resources and support by hiring retired detectives and police officers with investigatory experience who could help manage and support witnesses. They could escort witnesses and provide faster response time to witness intimidation. This could be part of a much broader effort to provide the detective division with the support it needs to make arrests and close cases. In addition to protecting witnesses, these officers could serve as analysts to help investigations, while also assuming tasks that would free detectives and other officers to concentrate on violent crime investigations. Such tasks could include electronic evidence processing, social media monitoring, cell phone analysis, case review and management, and follow-up with witnesses and grand jury subpoena processing. There is no substitution for the U.S. Attorney's Office aggressively prosecuting violent crimes and gun law violations under federal law and the state's attorney being held accountable for the release of suspects accused of serious offenses. However, you can't prosecute what you don't arrest. It's time to give Chicago detectives the tools they need to secure the confidence, trust, and cooperation in the community they serve to apprehend violent criminals and keep them off the streets. Paul Vallis was Budget Director for the City of Chicago and CEO of Chicago Public Schools. Submit a letter, of no more than 400 words, to the editor here or email letters@chicagotribune.com.
Okay, I'm about to wrap it up. Before I wrap it up, could you hit that piece where J.B. Pritzker proposal? Right there. And hit that. Right there. I'm going to go off with that. No.
I figured the least I could do as your governor was brave a snowstorm to deliver the State of the State address.
The governor delivering his proposed 2023 budget to a crowd of lawmakers much smaller than usual.
His election year spending plan includes anti-crime efforts and temporary tax breaks.
Our political editor, Mike Flannery, has more.
It was a memorial prayer service for 18-year-old Treya Kelly, killed in a storm of 17 bullets just days after her eyewitness testimony helped to convict a gangbanger who had killed her relative. It's a story all too familiar in violence-plagued neighborhoods such as back of the yards. Today, Governor Pritzker proposed providing for the first time ever $20 million in state funds to protect witnesses.
If we want to reduce crime, we have to solve crimes.
In the vast majority of shootings and killings here, no one is ever arrested, in large part because witnesses believe bringing a killer to justice could get them killed. Republican lawmakers signaled an election year debate to come.
While the governor says he's going to give money for a program to help hide witnesses, that's fantastic. But at the same time, last year in January at 4:30 in the morning, a bill was passed that takes away the ability of law enforcement to detain people in jail on pretrial detention for the offense of witness intimidation.
The governor also proposed using $1 billion in federal COVID relief money for temporary tax and fee cuts Republicans demand he make permanent. They affect groceries, gasoline, liquor license fees bars and restaurants pay, and license fees paid by nurses and other frontline health professionals.
Let's recognize the burden our healthcare workers have borne.
The debate over the governor's proposed budget now moves to the General Assembly and to wherever candidates and voters gather during this election year across Illinois. I'm political editor Mike Flannery.
You know, that's in the budget program, proposal that he's putting together, where he's proposing to put $20 million into a fund dealing with witness protection. But one thing I can say with the last minute that I have on the air, to turn the tide on senseless shooting and killings, we can't uphold the individuals that violate the code that's on the streets. The governor needs to help enforce it. The mayor, the county board president, the state's attorney, the community, we all need to come together. It takes all of us to let it be known that this will not be tolerated. And with that, I want to say to God be the glory. That's my story. And hey, keep Illinois blue. Re-elect Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and make sure that you have a Democrat become the Secretary of State. My preference may not be your preference, but let's make sure that it's not a Republican. To God be the glory. That's my story. Mask up if you choose to. I do. Vote and don't choke. Thank you.